Hey, it's Dr. Rimka. Going to talk about another one of my favorite compounds that many of you may not know about. Now, warning, all these compounds are not for everybody. And I'm not your doctor and I'm not telling you to use them. I'm educating you. And with some of them, you're going to have to do some further education. But this is a compound that comes in a pill form. It's not exactly a peptide. I call it a peptide, not really exactly. Then you can take it in a capsule form that many of you don't know about. Why do I like it? You end up with three powerful group categories that you get from this. It's going to boost mood and increase cognitive power. It acts like a nootropic. It's going to burn fat powerfully. Okay, you will increase your metabolism and unlock fat stores. It suppresses appetite tremendously and reduces cravings and desires, emotional eating, binge eating. It helps with that. I also leverage that again, eating disorders and even alcoholism and stuff. It'll help with those things. Okay? So you get this powerful combination from taking a capsule one time a day. It's called Tesonfesine. Many of you have not heard about it. You've heard me dripping a little bit. There are things you need to be careful with this. This is not a compound for everyone to try. Okay? Let me say that. People like kind of, no, let's just go right away. If they're on SSRIs, I'm very careful with this. If they have an unstable thyroid, Hashimoto's, very erratic, probably stay away from this. High blood pressure issues, I would stay away from this. Okay? So just as my first caveat, all right? So it kind of lets you know, might do something to blood pressure, it might do something to the thyroid. So let's talk about what it'll do. But why do I like it? I actually love it. It's one of my favorite personally things that I take. And the difference I have on this is so strong and so noticeable. It's sad for me when I can't take it, and I'll explain to you why. What is it? What's the mechanism? What's it doing? It's a triple reuptake inhibitor, right, of serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline. So we call it a selective, an SNDRI, selective reuptake inhibitor of noradrenaline, dopamine, right, serotonin, okay? Serotonin, that's what it is. It was originally developed and all the research originally, there's different names for it on the market, to help Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Now, it kind of failed as an Alzheimer's and Parkinson's drug. Now, why were they doing it to study that? Because one of the things it also does is increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So it increases BDNF and causes new brain cell growth, neurogenesis, hits the hippocampal area of your brain, the memory centers. So it will increase BDNF, make new nerve cells. It does improve memory. It does improve cognition because of that. And you feel it. It's amazing. It wasn't enough clinically for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's to be significant. However, one of the unexpected side effects in all these studies that they were doing back in like 2000, 2001 was that they were losing too much weight. The Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patient, like, they're dropping too much weight. Sometimes they had to stop it, like, wow, this causes incredible weight loss. What's going on, right? And they started studying it. So what you're getting is a few things, right? So because we're helping with higher dopamine levels and more dopamine in the junction, that's reducing food cravings for specific foods and even alcohol. Like dopamine makes you want the cravings of the things, right? So that tampers that down. Also, there's more dopamine available. You think better, you feel better, you make better decisions with the dopamine floating around. Like, oh, okay. You're not looking for dopamine hits as much. It's a reason I like it, to help people if they're trying to come off alcohol, if they're trying to come off binge eating. I go with this. This helps with that. Serotonin, we're increasing serotonin activity and having more availability of more serotonin. That's our happiness molecule. That in particular, more serotonin available reduces appetite, physical appetite. So you just aren't as hungry. So low dopamine makes you crave certain things, makes you look for hits of pleasure, alcohol, sugar, chocolates, things like that. Low serotonin makes you just hungry for real stuff, and like stomach will growl, real physical, like I don't care what it is, I'm just really hungry, right? We're pushing that down. It also increases noradrenaline. That directly speeds up your metabolism, directly speeds up thermogenesis and your metabolic fat burn. Okay, the downside to increasing noradrenaline is trouble sleeping. So that's a big caveat problem that we have with this, but we have ways to kind of maybe help with that. So, and I talked about you increase BDNF in the brain. So that helps you feel better, right? So this helps give you a ton of high energy, a lot of motivation. Like you just feel like doing things. Like you're like, I think I'm finally gonna go clean the gutters. I think I'm gonna go do this. I think it's time to finish that project in the garage. And like, so when I put patients on this, or I teach somebody, let's say when I teach somebody about this and they choose at their own education to do this, let me say it like that, they'll go, am I supposed to feel this like right away? Like the first day? Because I tell you, I feel amazing. And like, I cleaned my garage for 4 hours and I did blah, blah, and I did blah, blah. I said, I was like, wow, I feel awesome. Like, yeah, I know, right? So people, if they're struggling, again, kind of attention deficit, right? Low dopamine, think ADHD, serotonin, depression. This has implications in the mental health realm for sure, outside of just the fat falling off, okay? Because the fat falling off is no joke on this, all right? So high energy motivation kind of a thing is what you can expect. Mood uplift is outrageous for somebody like me. Tesonfesine, okay? And I'll have, you get it from the Limitless store. Rimka, save you 15%. Prices on everything are going up. March 1st, 15%. People asked about this and they're, why do they charge much for a credit card? Research molecule companies do not want you using credit cards. I don't think you haven't noticed this. Most peptide companies, you can't buy a credit card. If you're trying to get online compounds from Russia or somewhere else, you're going to have to wire money or use a checking account, a bank deposit or a wire. They don't want your credit card. Credit card companies and PayPal do a lot of tracking and control, and if they can shut you down. Many people have been broken, their whole companies, because they were selling CBD or hemp. And they came in, and not only did that server say, I'm shutting you down, every other processor went down. So imagine if overnight, if you're a business, you can't collect PayPal, Venmo, or any credit card. That's a problem. So please know, they don't want you to use a credit card. They're going to charge you 10, 15, 20% to use a credit card. They're like, please, they're trying to say, don't do it. People were like, what? I'm like, well, then don't use a credit card. Duh, aren't you understanding? They're trying to have you pay with Bitcoin or a bank. They don't want a credit card involved in this. So just know that. All right, let's go back to tesofenson, all right? So you have a few options. Let's talk about all the studies. Most of the studies, there's tons of studies on mice and there's tons of studies on humans with this for fat loss. And the dosing will be in the 250 microgram, 500 microgram, or 1,000 micrograms. What that looks like is 0.25 milligrams, 0.5 milligrams, right? That's what it's going to look like, 1 milligram, okay? So you know what that looks like. So on Limitless, it's going to say you have two options, 250 micrograms or 500 micrograms. Those are going to be your buy-in options on this. The sweet spot for most people seem to be about 500 micrograms, and the studies were the best thing. So the mean weight loss in general for most studies at the low 250 was going to be 4.5%. At 500 was 9.2%. Huge jump there, right? 4.5 to 9.2. But when you jump to 1,000 micrograms, it was only 10.6. So it's not a huge difference between 5 and 1,000 at all. So most people center in around 500 is kind of the recommended standard dose for fat loss with this. Now, not everybody can handle 500 micrograms because of the side effects. The higher up you go in dosage, the other effects get worse potentially, and you may not be able to handle it, okay? So what are some of these side effects? Let's talk about it. We said it's not for everybody, okay? Very common, dry mouth and headaches. Those will usually dissipate in a week or so. Dizziness, common, right? Then more common than not is insomnia, okay? Because of that noradrenaline. This is probably the biggest issue I have with it. Women seem to be more sensitive than men to this. And it's most likely because women have more thyroid problems and underlying hypo and not diagnosed, and more Hashimoto's and things of that nature. So the strange reactions I've had would be a woman with Hashimoto's, where I'm like, okay, you can't handle it. At one point, I was 3 weeks in on my first round, and that's when I started not being able to sleep. The real other downside to this is this. So if you're on this for 4 weeks, it's very effective. It has a 9-day half-life. That is unheard of for most compounds. So when you stop taking it, it takes 9 days for half of it to get cleared out of your blood, like to get down to the half level. It's a very long half-life. So if you start having sleep trouble and you stop taking it, you probably will still have a few days of some sleep trouble. So at 500 micrograms, I had to quit my second month, and I am like, and in tears after not sleeping for 2-3 days, about an hour a night. Now, that the 250 microgram dose is out, that's a nice dose for me. I have no problem sleeping. I feel amazing. The brain power is amazing. The mood uplift is amazing. And we'll see with the weight loss, it's just going to be a slower little burn, stimulating this last little bit of fat. When you're down to losing, trying to go from a 25%, 27 to a 20% body fat as a 50-year-old woman, when you're a man trying to go from, 19% to 14% body fat, it gets very hard at the end. And I'm just trying to get that fat to go. I need to unlock a little bit, boo-boo, okay? But I really like it for the mental aspect. Now, some of the other side effects that can happen, you have to watch it, know what you're doing, and see what your health status is, and this is why a lot of biohackers use it. Elevated heart rate, increased blood pressure, right, because it's speeding you up, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, and in the higher doses in the studies, they were noticing a little bit more mood swings, which could develop some anger and maybe even some confusion. Now, again, a lot of this was Alzheimer's, Parkinson's people, so, just be mindful of that. I will post, I don't know if I'll put it in here, but I'll put it somewhere, maybe up in my bio, a great website where you can see all the current research that's kind of going on around this compound, and you can make your own decisions on what you want to do. Let's try to see what else. You don't have to take it with food. You take it very early, very early. So if my dog wakes up at 4:30 to make me take him out to pee, I take it at 4:30 in the morning, and then I go back to bed. So if I can take it at 4 or 6 in the morning and then go back to sleep, that's perfect. If, let's say, I wake up and something's weird and I forgot it, or I don't know, and it's 8:30 or 9, I will never take this past 7:30 in the morning. For me, I won't sleep well. So, and I'm on low dose, okay? Now, I have clients, or I know people and stuff, they're on the 500. I have some that take 1,000. Now, they're in the 300, 350 pound range. And these were people, this is how you kind of know many things, right? Are they dealing with binge eating, alcoholism, addictive type of things? They have had depression, low serotonin activity. They may be a very good candidate for this, and they have a lot of weight to lose. If they had a history of using methamphetamines to lose weight and they liked it, they're like, oh my God, I wish I could just go back on it. It was awesome. I had energy. I loved how I felt. I was thin, but I don't want to do it anymore. I have children. It's addictive, right? If they say I had a history of recreational cocaine use, They weren't a drug addict, but 80s and 90s, y'all, everybody was on some cocaine. Your judge, your lawyer, and your physician were doing the coke, okay? The real, not the crack, right? So if they said that, I'm like, oh yeah, you'll like Tesonfesine. Yeah, because it's going to feel like that, actually. If they were like, oh my God, that stuff freaks me out, I get the anxiety when I tried it once, you probably won't like Tesonfesine. So you kind of have to know who you are, how your system is, and this is a higher risk side effect. I absolutely had dry mouth, absolutely had headaches, absolutely dealt with insomnia, 100%. Most women I know go through some of that. Men can seem to, it's different. Now, and the other thing, when you come off of it, there will be an increase in rebound hunger, most likely. You need to be prepared. So I usually like to titrate people in like an every other day fashion and stuff like that, and get them used and have them be aware appetite will increase, and not to, so they don't explode or binge. All right. So I think I don't keep, in general, I would suggest, as far as the research, there doesn't seem to be any addictive quality. However, 6 months is kind of a max. We like somebody to stay on it before you would cycle yourself off. So this isn't, to me, something you would stay on forever and for life. I just want you to be aware of that. What's my time? Okay, I have a 10 o'clock that I have to go to, but it's Tesofensine capsules. I usually recommend people get the 250 microgram, and then, you can take 2 and get it to 500. We can move it around. Now, if you bought the 500, you can open it up and split it in half and save it for later, put another pill. You can do that too, okay? So, cost. Let me tell you the cost. Let me look it up, actually, because I wrote it down. Okay. This bottle, 250 microgram, is $120 right now on Limitless. Prices are going up March 1st, so I'm going to tell you right now. The 500 bottle, and that's 30 capsules, so it's like a month supply. The 500 is $220. So you save $20 if you buy a 500. I usually, I'll just buy multiple of these and then have people, like the 250 microgram was a game changer. They didn't have that. And because of this, I can leverage it much differently for people to get them better. So I would never really recommend people go to 1,000, but it's Tesofensine, triple reuptake inhibitor of serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline, and it also increases BDNF. It is a, you're kind of getting nootropic effects like peptides, Selenk and CMAX. I use those a lot in practice. Anxiety and depression, ADHD. Increasing metabolic rate like you get from AOD, 9604, and another peptide, and suppressing appetite the way, semaglutide does, right? And, I still eat, but like when you guys saw me do the Unbreakable 100, I didn't totally post all that stuff. When I did that, and I did that like 6-7 hours of working out straight and fasted, I was on 500 micrograms Tesofensine. I felt incredible. I felt amazing. I was not hungry. I feel awesome. I was like, oh right, I took 500 today. I'm like, I took a little bit more. The first month I took this, I only took it 3 weeks because the insomnia then was rough at 500. I dropped 7 pounds of fat. Felt amazing, but then the sleeping literally had me in tears. I was crying. And I had to cancel like a day or 2 of work. So there's your warning. Now, 250 microgram, totally different thing. Feel completely different. So I took one off of a month. I'm saying, I'm going to try it again. So I have people who've been on it and lost 40 pounds in a couple months. They also were dealing with like severe brain fog, oversleeping. So instead of sleeping 14 hours a day, they're sleeping 9, and they can function. Their attention deficit symptoms are like, some of these people were like ready to lose their jobs because it was bad. And so it's nice stuff. If it's good for you, this one requires some research. It's not for everybody. There are a lot of side effects that some of you won't tolerate, handle, or it's not safe for you. And you should be aware of it. It's why not everything is for everybody. You need to do, so if you're already on it, it's okay. No, I don't know what that means. Not okay. If you struggle with sleep, I wouldn't be taking this. me see if there's anything. I don't know about the thyroid nodule and what your labs are, and if it's, I don't know, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can take 6 months on, and I would take at least, at least 30 days off. But I don't, unless you have hundreds and hundreds of pounds to lose, I'd be careful with trying to stay on this. Now, again, the brain nootropic, enhancing mood lifting effects make this one of those. It's an interesting thing to consider. Somebody could easily do 250 micrograms maybe every other day, every 3 days, and that could be an interesting maintenance for them long term to deal with their dopamine and serotonin for focus, concentration, mood elevation, happiness, satisfaction in life. It's still a research molecule. I could see this getting FDA approved for weight loss for sure. I don't think that's a benefit to anybody, because what you'll see is, I think you'll see other problems when that happens, to be honest. I'm not a fan of FDA approval. If you're on blood pressure meds, I wouldn't go on this. Or you're working with somebody no, it's not. So it's similar to Ozempic. What I just said was semaglutide. So Ozempic, Wegovy, we got semaglutide, tirzepatide, have a totally different mechanism of action, but this suppresses appetite like that, but in a completely different manner. This is not acting on insulin. This is not acting that way. It's dopamine, serotonin, noradrenaline, and BDNF. Very neurotransmitter brain issues. It works on fat loss in a totally different mechanism than, say, 5-amino-1-MQ. I take both. I stack them every day, along with other stuff right now. So this was one of my most potent fat loss enhancers out of the things I've been doing to deal with this, perimenopause crazy. Safe for children, no. How would you gauge when you take it working shift? Overnight's a whole other problem. You would work with a clinician. I wouldn't let my child take it, no. There would be, we would need more information on dosing and things like that. Do I think it has the possibility of helping children? It has a possibility. But there's another compound that they're using similar to this that takes away the appetite suppression aspect. And I think that's a better possibility for children's use. I don't want appetite suppressed in children. I don't. That's a big problem. That's the problem with the methamphetamines. One of the major problems. So they're highly addictive and they suppress their appetite, and these kids don't eat enough to grow. Malnutrition, low bone density. They're not growing. They potentially are losing inches off what they're supposed to be. Yippee for Adderall and Ritalin. Can't stand those drugs. I think that's one of the, I'd rather you give your children coffee than that shit, okay? And I'm not saying a child should be having coffee at all. No, so I wouldn't give this to children. We'd have to have more information and a different dosing, and I could say maybe 50 micrograms doing something for them, but I don't know. Okay? All right, I'm gonna tap out. I got a phone call. I'll have the information in there for you on how to order this. Do your research. It's not for everybody. Talk to your clinician, okay? See ya. Tesonfesine. Rimka saves 15% though. It's one of my faves.